If you could, please go ahead, click that subscribe button, click that notification bell, hit that like button, smash it.
You'd be the first.
Smash it, flip it, rub it down. Oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah. Do all that, and we will. You'll be the first.
It took you that long to pick up on that.
Technically, you'd be the 70th.
You'd be the 70th.
70th subscriber.
My daughters think it's very funny that I'm stuck on 69 subscribers.
I'm sure they do. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that what you want out of a 15 and a 12-year-old?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I have a 12 going on 13 as well, and I'm sure.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's get into the first topic today. Do you want to touch on Correa or?
Yeah, fuck him. Go ahead. You go ahead. You put that on the any list, so why don't you go ahead and start it, and then I'll weigh in with my fuck him, which is pretty much just going to be like.
So there was a thing that popped up on MLB Trade Rumors, and it said Carlos Correa said that he and the Astros did not get close at all to an extension in the spring. And all right, so you and I don't know if we're both the same when it comes to Carlos Correa, but Carlos Correa is a good player. He is. I mean, granted, he's kind of a d-bag. He's been kind of a loudmouth throughout his career. He's had certain years where it's deserved, where he could be a little bit more braggadocious.
My biggest issue with him, by the way, just to clear the air, is I believe Verlander, and Altuve are really the face of the whole cheating scandal. And they're not only the face of it, but they're brazenly proud of it. That's my issue with him. He gives zero fucks about it. He doesn't think that anything was done wrong, or if he does, he just doesn't care, which is probably the worst part. I would say that's actually worse, like knowing you did it and not caring, as opposed to maybe just being like, or as opposed to just kind of brushing it off. Yeah. He knows what they did and he does not care.
Right.
That's the issue. That's really the problem. So I have no love lost for that guy. He's a piece of shit as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, over the course of his career, right? Let me see if I can pull up his stats real quick.
So he's a good player, although, you wonder how much of that was really him.
Right. Exactly.
I'm sorry. You have to ask that question when it comes to these guys. You have to. You have to ask. And of course the fucking Astros have started 4-0 this year. Of course they have. Because why not?
So
of course they're off to a hot start.
You can't really go into last year too much, but 264, 709 OPS.
Last year, listen, I'm not throwing last year out the books as far as numbers and statistics. It was a partial season. But I do think that there are certain guys that you have to look at, and this goes both ways, whether they overperformed or underperformed. Right. Like Gleyber. Gleyber, because actually Gleyber's an interesting case study in that, because Gleyber last year was bad during the regular season, and then he turned it on in the postseason. And the only reason I think he turned it on in the postseason was just because he was finally just starting to hit his stride.
Yeah.
It was just time. It was just timing. It wasn't like, ooh, it's the postseason, so I'm going to do my best Derek Jeter and step up. No, I think he was just finally getting his sea legs back. I think that's really what it came down to. Is he sorted it out, as we would use in our little clip. But
where do you
that's
think
really
you're going?
Yeah,
Gleyber's
gonna sort it out.
Yeah, he had to sort it out, and he did, and he turned it on just at the right time.
Right.
So I can't hold good or bad years against anybody last year. I really can't, because I like to be fair about that argument. So, but anyways, get back to Carlos Correa.
Yeah, so his career, you're talking like a guy who has, for the most part, his career average is 276, which I know average isn't a big thing that a lot of people that are into statistics look at.
What's his on base?
His on base percentage is 350, which is I would say
it's not as good as I thought it would be.
It's
actually
good to average. For it's not great.
No, basically what that tells me is he doesn't walk a lot. Mostly
OPS
he's getting on.
His OPS is 832 for his career. But he's had years that he's been in the 700s. He's had 1 year where he was in the 900. No, 2 years where he's been in the 900s. But overall, I would say that he's like an above average player, like not like a star.
Yeah, no.
Above average.
No. And what I took from his whole little rant, see, here's the other problem I have. Put the cheating scandal aside for a second. This is what I hate a lot about professional athletes, and I'll lump him in obviously here, is I don't like that he brought this to the media. Mm-hmm. This is, I know it's different to compare professional sports with like people say like you and me, right? Like you and I don't share my salary with you. You don't tell me, what your income is. That's personal shit. Like we don't talk about that. And it's none of each other's, it's not my business what you or your wife makes, and it's none of your business what I make. So here's where, this is where the lines get blurry, right? Because in sports, contracts are basically negotiated publicly, and we do know what players make.
Right.
And right down, you can figure it out, like right down to the net income, especially if you're in a state where there's no income tax versus the one where there is. I mean, that's not, so it's a little different. But I still think there's a basic principle involved here where it's not healthy practice to air this out in the media.
Right.
I mean, ultimately, Carlos, everyone's going to find out what you're making anyway, but don't air it out in the media. Like, just don't do that. It's just not appropriate in my opinion. And don't negotiate, because now you're using the media as a negotiating tactic. And I don't think it's going to play out that well for you. Also, here's the other big issue with this. He used Francisco Lindor as the standard for him. Well, sorry, that's not a good use for you, because you're not Francisco Lindor. You're just not. Right. You're not on that level. You're what my brother would call a nice little player, although maybe a little better.
Yeah,
maybe a little. I should say that.
He's young too. He's still like in his mid-20s. So
yeah, he is. But Frankie Lindor, you're not. So like, let's not jump there yet. And don't use him as your bar for what you're going to make. You're
it's
not
tough for him to be
contract.
compared to Francisco Lindor too, because like Correa has had an abundance of stars on his team. Springer, Altuve. There are a lot. Whereas Francisco Lindor,
Lindor's had some good lineup. He's had some good protection around him,
but it's not the same.
No.
There is multiple players on the Astros that like projected. It's early in their career, but projected
Altuve,
to be like Hall of Famers.
Springer,
like they're all stars every year.
Brantley, I mean,
right.
There's a lot of protection around the lineup for him.
Correct.
More so than there was for Lindor when he was in Cleveland. Now Lindor's got a better lineup around him in New York, but I don't like this. I don't like airing financials out and using the media as, your tactic to get it out there. But he basically signaled one thing. I mean, there was one thing to me that was crystal clear, is that he will not be a Houston Astro after this year. In fact, I would be shocked if the Astros don't try to trade him at the break. If you at this point, you're not going to be able to bring him back, because if what Correa said was true, so what he said was, the team showed no interest in giving me a long-term contract because they don't do big contracts. Well, okay, if that's the case, if they don't do big contracts, then that means that you're going to be gone. And that means that the Astros need to trade you to get some kind of value back for you. So he's going to be a trade deadline. Now, to me, it would behoove him to play very well in this first half so that he can maybe get traded somewhere that, well, also just to show yourself off. I mean, right? Mm-hmm. You are not going to be on that team next year. So you need to have a good contract year if you're Carlos Correa. You need to go out there and hit the cover off the ball this year and play well in the field. And listen, and the more the Astros win, I think the better that benefits him too, because it just looks then he's part of a winning franchise. So I think it would benefit him greatly to go out and be himself, and maybe even a little better this year. But I think he's going to get traded at the deadline. I think the Astros would be stupid not to.
Yeah.
If everything he just said is true, not to mention the fact that, again, he's airing this out with the press, he's going to be gone. He's going to be gone by July.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. All right. So I don't particularly love his comments just because I think he's thinking he's better than he is. that was the main reason why I didn't like the comments.
That was my biggest takeaway too, was you basically just compared yourself to Francisco Lindor, and you really shouldn't have done that.
Right. Yeah.
Not in my opinion.
Right. So that's really where I'm at. Is I just don't think he is as good as he thinks he is. So, all right, let's get into the state of the Yankees. So we will.